Hey, everybody. Welcome into this week's edition, a special edition of the MCT Podcast. First and foremost, we're going to make an announcement. As you can see on your screen, I'm here. Michael is here. Tade is not here. We brought up a pinch hitter, called him up from the minors. He's ready to go today. That's obviously the man, the myth, the legend himself, Craig Crash Course. Say hi to folks, Craig.
What's going on?
Yep. So we basically... there were some, we'll call them creative differences, some minds not settled last week. And basically we had to have a sit down with Tade and inform him that as a team, as a group, as a family, we thought it best for everybody involved if we suspended him for a week, had him take a week off due to his very unfortunate comments that he made last week regarding Kyle Pitts being the worst pick that he saw in those first two rounds of the 2021 NFL draft.
Thoroughly insulted our guests with that.
Yeah, so we wanted him. We said, you know what, take a week off, take a week from vacation, get your mind right. So he went all the way out to California. He's driving back. He's driving his sister's car back. So he will rejoin us next.
Is that you kidnapped him and dropped him off in California and made him walk.
Yeah,
so that's why he's not going to be on this week.
Yeah, he may not even be on next week at this rate. We don't know. No one's really been in contact with him, so all we know is he's not here right now. So Tade is off for the week. All jokes aside, yeah, he is taking care of some family stuff out there. So we brought Craig Crash on. We were super excited to be able to get him this week. Been wanting him on here, and this is a fun one for him to get on. So I'm very excited for him. I know he's excited to get on. Quickly, we are going to recap our picks of the week from last week. So first off, Tade took the Pacers over the Thunder, and I think he had that one. I think he nailed it. I think he was in his DeLorean going 88 and saw the future there, because holy God, it was like 152 to 90 something. It was a 56-point win, the biggest win for a road team in NBA history, because of course, with the way this Pacers season has gone, they get a win like that. So, and don't worry, we will talk about the Pacers later. I'll feed you later, baby birds, I promise. We will get to all of them as well. Michael, what was your pick of the week last week, bud?
Well, first, I think the Pacers are actually wanted for murder in the city of Oklahoma right now because of that game. That was absolutely ridiculous. Just looking at the score while I was at work and just going, "Oh my, what? They're up by what?"
I remember they had like 80 some points at halftime, and I was like, "They're on pace for 160." And they almost did. I was like, "Oh my God!"
They got real close.
Yeah,
that was insane. They were up by like 70 at one point. It was ridiculous.
Yeah, it was just an insane game.
Oh my goodness. Sabonis had a triple-double at halftime. Ridiculous. He was on my bench on my fantasy team. So lost the playoffs because of that one. But I took the Braves versus the Blue Jays. I had Acuna going up against a very hot Vladimir Guerrero Jr. And those guys combined in that game for a whopping 0-7 with an RBI.
Baseball.
Baseball. But I did pick the team correctly. I had the Jays winning 7-8. They actually won 7-2. So it was I still got it right. The Rays were just really cold that game. Ice cold.
Nice. I went with that fun Dodgers and Brewers series. I went with the series finale on Sunday. I picked the Brewers. They ended up getting demolished on Sunday in that game, like 16-4. The funny thing is the Brewers, of course, had won the first two of the series, so I was feeling pretty confident about my picks, and sure enough, they just don't show up that day. So
didn't the Dodgers hit two grand slams in 2 innings that day? Isn't that
like they had like 9 runs before the end of the second inning, and I was like, well, I don't think my pick's gonna go well this week. I have something tells me this might not go my way. So our updated records, I'm at back to 500, where I seem to keep floating every other week. At 6-6 now. Michael, looks like you're catching fire. You're 3-9. He's got 2 in a row. Tade sitting there at 5-6-1. So almost to 500. It's a lot of fun with that. Glad we're keeping track of those.
So what you're saying is Tade is going to be either really mad at me or really happy with me, because I can either get him to 500 or I'll put him back a week and I'll have to try even harder to get back to 500.
Right. Yep. Put him in that hole. So the pressure's on him, and or on you rather, and that's what he gets. It's part of his suspension. Is your pick of the week is going to count towards him. So we will see how that goes for next week. So I wanted to get into. I mean, I felt like one of the first things we had to talk about is the just bonkers story that came out draft night, and then led to a flurry of rumors and spin-offs and drama and things in what we'll just bow it nice and neatly in the Aaron Rodgers saga. And that was the Schefter bomb, not a Woj bomb, but a Schefter bomb coming on draft night last Thursday, that basically Rodgers had told teammates he's done in Green Bay. He wants out. He had requested a trade. He wasn't happy. He wants the GM fired. I mean, all of these things were coming out in a matter of 48 hours. And then all of a sudden everything comes down and it's like, well, is Rodgers done? And then at one point, did you guys see the rumor or whatever, where it was like, he's contemplating retirement to go be the full-time Jeopardy host. And you're just like, what is happening, up north in Green Bay, or what is happening with Aaron Rodgers? And I'll just say, I'll throw the floor to you guys and we'll talk about it. But I'll just say this real quick, is that, like, in the broadest of senses, I understand where Aaron Rodgers is coming from, where he feels like he's been pleading for years and years to just get some offensive support, get some help, and help him, fulfill his legacy and get another ring, because all of a sudden this onus keeps coming back on him and why he's underperforming and not getting it done in crunch time or in playoff time and can't win that second ring. Whereas he's probably looking at it more in like, well, I can't do it all on my own and I need some more help. I need some help. You guys have never paired me with a first round wide receiver. All the wide receivers I've had, we were lucky to have and we groomed into it, but like, he's never felt like he's gotten that support to be built around him as a franchise guy. And it's got to be frustrating to watch other quarterbacks and other franchise players get asked by their front office, hey, what do you want? And let's go get him. Where he just probably feels like that's never happened with his tenure in Green Bay.
Well, I just feel like it's a lot of disrespect. And even like on draft night, let's just talk about this past draft night. Andy Dalton got a phone call from the Bears saying, hey, we're trading up. We're taking Justin Fields. And like they still called and let him know. Tom Brady was asked if it was okay to draft Kyle
Trask.
Kyle Trask. I almost would have said Kyle Pitts. I'm like, Kyle Trask.
I think he would be okay with Pitts.
Right.
And, I mean, it's Tom Brady. It's
I think if Pitts was there. I think if Pitts was there at 32, I don't think you need a phone call. I think you got to be like, here, that card's already in. Sorry, Tom.
Yeah.
We were gonna ask, but we kind of just like scran and full sprinted the card up there.
Yeah, we thought it was a mistake, so we wanted to get it in there as soon as we could. Like,
no takesy backsies, takesy backsies, Atlanta.
Gosh,
but just like not being informed, firing like his QB coach without even consulting him about it. I think it was a few years ago with Jake Kumro, when Aaron Rodgers was like publicly touting him as like, oh yeah, this is going to be a great third wide receiver for us. He's awesome. I got plays ran up for him, only to cut him the following day.
Yeah. Like
just little things like that, where you don't inform your quarterback, your franchise guy, like this is what's going on, and then expect him to be all gung ho to go out there every single year. And like your team's not doing anything to really support you. And that's just insane. Now, that AJ Hawk interview on the Pat McAfee show, I don't know if you guys listened to it at all or not.
I did not catch that one this time.
They had a photo taken with him with Aaron Rodgers at the Kentucky Derby. So They were like, hey, we're going to talk about this. Like, there's no getting around it. You're here. We're talking about this. And he said he's pretty confident that he's not done. He's not going to retire to do Jeopardy. But he is really upset with Green Bay.
Yeah.
Like as one should be after so many years of just these little casual smacks to the face over and over and over and over and over again. So it's just kind of ridiculous. But Craig, how are you feeling about that whole situation?
Well, I mean, I didn't even realize until I saw it on Twitter that no quarterback has been in Green Bay for longer than 16 seasons, and this would be Rodgers' 17th. And you even have Favre out here drawing parallels to when he was forced out of of Green Bay in favor of Aaron Rodgers. Aaron Rodgers has been now both the beneficiary of this kind of action by the front office, and now is the recipient of like this kind of behavior. And I mean, you can't hardly blame him because I mean, and I think if you even want to draw, kind of some, links to this year, I mean, it only takes the fact that they elect to kick a field goal, which I mean is a decision at the time I defended because it makes enough sense, but still, in a situation where you need a touchdown or both a touchdown and a field goal helps you in that scenario, they elect for just the surefire field goal, not putting enough faith in you as a quarterback to go in and get it done. Now, granted, we're going up against the Tampa Bay defense. We know how good they are, but I mean, to elect to basically not go with your Hall of Fame quarterback and elect to go with the safe option and not put him in position to win. I mean, that I could see that being the last straw because I mean in the other NFC championship games they lost, I mean they were absolutely drugged by San Francisco a couple of years ago. Like it's not like every year they've been down to the last possession. Like this is the last time that I can remember they were super close, with the exception of the Seattle year with the onside kick, which I mean I don't think he was really blamed for that one. So I mean this is, I mean you can draw parallels even to taking out Blake Snell in the World Series. Like they're like, you know what, it's a safer decision to go with like the analytical choice. Let's kick the field goal instead of leaving in our star, player. And that's ultimately going to be the last straw. So, I mean, it's kind of weird. I don't know where he goes. I mean, B. Scott and I have talked about on the Crash Course podcast plug.
There you go. I like
that that he wants to move out west to be with his girlfriend, fiance, Shailene Woodley, his significant other. But the thing that's weird, what kind of adds an extra wrinkle to this whole thing, is that a lot of the teams that needed a quarterback have already addressed that issue this year. So, I mean, obviously, with the opportunity to go get Rodgers, you at least, pick up the phone and see what it's going to take and see what your situation is. But like, you can either muddy the waters by jumping through hurdles to try to get Rodgers out of Green Bay for a couple of seasons, or you can stick with what you already have and what the plan was going forward. And I can't see many teams that are going to, move heaven and earth to try to get Rodgers when they already have found a solution and a more long-term solution for their problems.
Yeah, I mean, even if you look at our Indianapolis Colts, who just traded for Carson Wentz, you can't tell me in good faith that if Rodgers was truly available, that Ballard doesn't make a call and say, hey, what's it going to take to get him? Because I mean, he would salivate at the opportunity to add Rodgers to this roster now, and you'd be done. It'd be a Super Bowl winning roster. I'll take that hot take now. I mean, I guess, but like so there's a lot of teams where that's the case. That's just how good Rodgers is on his own, and that's part of the double-edged sword here with this, is that he feels like, man, I know what I can bring to the table. I know how good I am, but like, I can't do it all on my own. I need some help. And yeah, I think the way you guys described it, just as either this was the final straw, kicking that field goal in the NFC title game. And I mean, it probably didn't feel good when like you have that moment and you're hosting Jeopardy and you got a contestant taking a shot at you for kicking that field goal. And, and you're like, I know myself, I know how petty I am. I would be like, well, you're just a dude on Jeopardy. Like I was at least there and like tried, like we tried to take a shot at me, but like, it was all in good fun. I think it was fine. Like, but I mean, you have those things that add up. And like you said, Craig could be the final straw. Michael, you said the body blows. I mean, these are things that stack up over years. This is not a scenario where there was that one, like, in a boxing sense, there wasn't like that one, uppercut to the face. It was just a lot of body blows over a lot of years that are eventually going to take you down. And that's, I think, what's happening. And I think Rodgers, just like a lot of players around the league, are looking at other situations. And I think the players in the NFL are starting to realize they, in a broad sense, have more power than they maybe previously thought. Ever since guys like Andrew Luck and Luke Kuechly decided to walk away from the game younger than they were anticipated, and you realize like, oh, I can like truly do what's best for me whatever that may be, and make this more of a player's decision rather than a team decision. So I think that's also a factor that Rodgers is trying to figure out what exactly is best for him. Where like, yeah, I'm not necessarily wanting to get out of Green Bay, but I want Green Bay to wake up and realize that I could leave. So I want you guys to potentially miss me already and just fix and help me help you guys so we can win. Like, I don't think he's being a diva like I keep seeing on social media or he's a crybaby and a diva trying to just get out of a tough situation. I think he's just trying to wake the people up around him and be like, hey, let's do this together. Like, let's get this done. So it's an interesting saga that is obviously still unfolding. We'll see how it all goes. I for what it's worth, I expect him to still be in Green Bay. I don't think there's enough there for him to be. It's just kind of like Russell Wilson too in Seattle. Like, I didn't really expect Russell Wilson to like go as far as being like, nope, I'm sitting out and I'm done. I'm out of Seattle. Like, and I don't expect Aaron Rodgers to do the same necessarily at this point. But you never know. I mean, another Schefter bomb and who knows what could happen. So
I think it'd be hilarious if he ended up in Houston, just swap terrible quarterback situations.
Oh my God. And everybody gets happy.
And trade do a 1-for-1, Deshaun Watson for Aaron Rodgers. Both teams still without really quality receivers.
Yeah.
And no real direction at this point.
Oh man.
I think
at least there's a chance one of them plays.
There's a couple interesting destinations for Rodgers, though, for sure, if he does actually go out there. I mean, obviously, the prevailing one that everybody's talking about is Denver, and it would make sense. Because I'm trying to just think of, teams that are supposed to be good but don't really have their quarterback situation figured out. And I mean, if he were to go to Denver, the only thing I think that he wouldn't like about that is the fact that you have to go through Mahomes just to get through the division. It's not even talking about getting we get to the Super Bowl, we have to face Mahomes, or we get to the AFC Championship, we have to face Mahomes. You have to beat Mahomes once, maybe twice, to win the division even. We saw how, even that one great year that Rivers had towards the end, he wasn't able to do that. So, I mean, obviously Rodgers is a little bit better, but, I could see him maybe going to, maybe Las Vegas. That's an option. I think one really, it goes against his whole being on the, West Coast kind of thing. But if you're New Orleans and you just lost Drew Brees and you think you're still in the mix for, the Super Bowl. I mean, Aaron Rodgers, I think, is okay with facing Tom Brady. I mean, I think.
Oh, I think he wants him.
Yeah.
Like after. Oh yeah. I think he wants him. Yeah. I think he wants another shot at him for sure.
It's not the same argument that you would have with the Mahomes thing. It would be like, okay, well, you have Tom Brady's at the end of his career. You have to go through Sam Darnold and Matt Ryan also for that for that division, and you get Alvin Kamara. You have Michael Thomas. You've got all these great wide receivers. So, I mean, I could see maybe a New Orleans being a team that's like, hey, so we definitely are interested in getting you down here. Because, I mean, their options right now are Jameis Winston and Taysom Hill. And, I mean, while I do like Taysom Hill, we'll
eat a W.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Yeah. So, I mean, I do like Taysom Hill, but I don't know that either of those two guys are your long-term solution, especially if you're a Saints team that thinks that you're still on the doorstep of being in the Super Bowl.
Right. And I mean, and that's a program and a franchise that expects to be at a high level. They're not to take a shot, but they're not like one of those, typically, I'd say like Detroit Lions where you don't expect to win more than 5-6 games. Like, no, New Orleans has built a franchise culture of like, we're winning double-digit games and trying to get here. So yeah, you make the move if it's at all possible. I like that addition a lot. I hadn't thought about them. Obviously, Denver has been the number one prevailing option of the last 48 hours or so. Vegas makes a lot of sense too, even though they have Derek Carr. It's obviously an instant upgrade at that position, and they've got a lot of other interesting, fun pieces. I mean, Rodgers to Darren Waller would be just a nightmare for the league. And then, but New Orleans, I mean, talk about going from Green Bay to the dome of New Orleans, like, and that kind of pass heavy offense already. I mean, Aaron Rodgers is going to put up video game numbers down in New Orleans if he goes there for 16 games. I mean, it's going to be silly. He'll throw for 6,000 yards and 5 interceptions to go with 60 touchdowns. I mean, it'll just be a monster season for him. But it's a really, really kind of fascinating saga to watch unfold in real time, especially with social media being the presence that it is and getting to see all of these reactions and things happen like at the snap of a finger. So obviously we'll keep updating that as it goes. I'm sure Craig and B Scott will talk about Aaron Rodgers as well if some more news of that breaks on. But you know what? We couldn't have the three of us on, especially in the month of May now, and not talk baseball. I mean, we're the best part about being in the month of May and going on is we're a month now into the season of baseball, a regular season. So far, fingers crossed, everything has been relatively healthy across the league. There hasn't been too many problems with things like that. So it's been a lot of fun, a great month of baseball to get back into what we hope is a normal kind of season and marathon. Remember how long 162 games is, guys? Like, holy crap. 60 games felt like that. And now we're already like, think about the fact that we're about halfway to what would have been the regular season last year.
Yeah, they brought that up on I was watching Talking Baseball on John Boy Media, which is where I go a lot of times for my baseball stuff. And they were talking about like, we're at the halfway point of what last year would have been. And that's just crazy to think about. So yeah, I mean, it's wild. And really, yeah, you talk about all the like potential like COVID stuff with this year, really except for the Nationals at the beginning of the season, there's really not, there's been a couple players got held out like Kevin Gossman, Teoscar Hernandez. Some other players have gotten like, precautionarily set out. But other than that, the Nationals at the beginning of the season, that's really been the only issue.
Only blip. Yeah, for sure. I mean, and even the Cubs, Craig, we had Pedro Strop had those issues at the beginning of the year and then had whatever other issues he was out on assignment and is now elected for free agency. So that's super sad. I really wanted to see him this year pitch in a Cubs jersey. But speaking of old Cubs relievers, did you see that the Braves designated Carl Edwards Jr. for assignment?
Interesting.
Yesterday. And I was like, ooh.
Yeah.
So you're saying there's a chance. I mean, that dude, just saying, that dude pitched 2 stone cold outs in Game 7 of the World Series in 2016 as the string bean killer. He got the first 2 outs at the 10th inning. So
I think Carl Edwards Jr. too would be it'd be interesting to see what he's able to do not under the thumb of Joe Madden. Because not to say Joe Madden didn't do anything. Not to say that Joe Madden did anything wrong necessarily with him, but Joe Madden being as neurotic as he is about pitching and like how he maps out the pitching staff for a given day, his leash for Carl Edwards, and understandably so, was very short. So it'd be interesting to see, under a new manager, under a new style of bullpen management, what that would look like. Maybe, I don't know if it would be a little bit less pressure, maybe being with a guy like David Ross, who's more of like relatable to the players, maybe he'd be able to succeed a little bit more. So I would like that if they ended up picking him up.
Yeah, I'd be actually kind of thrilled just for the kicks of it, really. But you know what? If we're going to talk MLB, I think there's a couple of players we should talk about first, and then we'll get into the big stuff of it. So the Angels, let's talk about a couple of guys on their team. So they actually just designated for assignment Albert Pujols the other day. That's right. That future Hall of Famer, Albert Pujols, who's still hitting home runs at 50 years old in the majors, is, I mean, I know he was batting under 200 this year, and he's in the final year of that massive 10-year contract that he signed for $230 some million to leave St. Louis and go to LA. What do we think about Albert Pujols? Where do we see him maybe playing the rest of this year?
Well, I was going to say Chicago before that report from Tony La Russa came out and said that there wasn't any room for him. And so the only other thing that I could really even think of was a St. Louis reunion, bringing him back into St. Louis, not really to start over Paul Goldschmidt because it's Paul Goldschmidt, but just having him on the team, being in that dugout, and it's going to really bring up the whole morale of the clubhouse, especially on a more struggling Cardinals team than I think we initially expected them to be this year.
I expected it, but
yeah.
So,
and I mean, it'd be interesting because it just depends on what Albert Pujols is looking to get out of the rest of the season? What was the nature of his departure from the Angels? Because it wasn't like it wasn't an amicable split, but I'm imagining he wasn't satisfied with not being given a lot of at bats, despite the fact that he was struggling. Because you have Jared Walsh, you can plug in at first base. DH is typically Ohtani. They ran out of places to really put him, so therefore there wasn't really a spot for him to go. So I mean, my brain, whenever stuff like this happens, especially with an old veteran, is going to a contender. And I the one place that I thought of that would be really interesting, because as much as I would love for him to go to the Cubs just because it'd be hilarious, would be because I mean, there's no way you can shoehorn at bats in for him, because you could be like, oh, he's really good against lefties, but I mean, you have Rizzo already that is going to be penciled in at first, unless something crazy happens. So, but I was thinking,
you don't have the DH,
right? And you don't have the DH. But I was thinking maybe if you're talking about a team that's contending, and a guy who likes to manipulate the roster a little bit, and that is Craig Counsell and the Brewers. I think that would be. There's no. I mean, I'm sure there's a first baseman obviously on the depth chart penciled in as their everyday first baseman, but I don't think it's such a locked down. It's not Jesus Aguilar. Right. It's not Eric Thames. It's not so locked down. I mean, heck, at the beginning of the year, before the season started, they were thinking possibly Ryan Braun could come back and play first or something like that. So I mean, it's not a position that's so locked down that I could see them not doing something to remedy that. So I think that would be an interesting move. I mean, the Brewers are in contention right now. Sure. Why not go ahead and be like, all right, I mean, yes, Albert Pujols isn't going to get every day at bats anymore, and he shouldn't really. But I mean, heck, go out. If you're the Brewers, go get him for the league minimum. The Angels are paying him, so you don't really have to worry about anything like that. So that's the one team that stands out to me as far as going. I mean, I know it's easy to say whatever team needs a DH, but I don't think you want him getting every day at bats. If you got him some sort of platoon situation at first base, on a team in the NL, I think that would work just as well.
Well, Here's the thing, though. There's one thing that I thought about. There's a certain player who is on the IL for a little while. And how about him coming to Cincinnati to take over for Joey Votto a little bit? Because you remember, if he broke his thumb, he took a pitch on the hands. He's gonna be out for a while. So I didn't even think about that, because somebody came in and handed me some things. Well, shirtless, so you saw me laughing my head off.
You guys are missing the most obvious answer here.
Oh God.
I mean, if you're an aging veteran that wants to go to some contender, I hate it as much as you guys do. But there's a team in the AL that loves guys like this, that loves to spend money, bring all these big names in, and those are the bad empire with the pinstripes. He's gonna end up in New York. He's gonna end up with the damn Yankees. He won't even take an at bat. They don't matter. I know Stanton is usually their DH, and they've got a first base, but they'll find a spot, and he's gonna pinch hit home runs for the rest of the year for him on the Angels' dime. And it's just the way sports work. Okay, it's the Patriots of baseball. They end up with all these players that just fall into their laps. No, but it would be interesting if he ends up there, or even another AL East team in Boston. So just again, I'm just thinking of contending teams, like you said. I don't expect him to go. I think you made a really good point with him about what he wants from the season. I think especially at this point, that's the most important thing. It's not necessarily where he fits on teams, but what he wants. Does he want everyday at bats? Does he want to just be, what does he want, a ring chase? Does he want to, I know he's a couple of hits away from a few different records and things like that. So does he want to go somewhere that, he can get those at bats and get to those records and then call it quits? I don't know. Or does he want a St. Louis reunion just to be part of that clubhouse again and go full circle in his career? Who knows? We'll wait and see. It'll be an interesting one for sure. The other Angels player we got to talk about is a guy that's actually tied.
Real quick. I don't mean to interrupt you, but I was looking at the Yankees right now, because honestly, they do have an empty spot at first. Originally at the beginning of the season, that was being filled by Jay Bruce. He elected to retire. Right now, it's Mike Ford, who right now is hitting just .083 on the season in 12 games. And DJ LeMahieu can slide over there too. The only problem with that is that you do at some point have Luke Voigt coming back.
Right.
So whether or not you want to platoon, like I said, platoon them or split time between the two of them, I guess you would just see how well, because I mean, the Yankees, might as well bring him in until Voigt is healthy and then see what happens from there. So, I mean, it would be a little bit of an upgrade. I don't know about upgrade, but it would be worth looking into if you're the Yankees, looking at Pujols.
Yeah, especially as you said, as a platoon, as a kind of a depth guy as well. You got to think the money is not going to be a factor anyway. As you mentioned, the Angels are paying him. So if you even think you have a spot for him, you got a spot for him just because he's not going to hurt you outside of potentially taking at bats away. If you're developing a young first baseman of some kind, you're, blah, blah, blah. But also I would argue the flip side of that. Well, if you're a young first baseman, who better to learn from than Albert Pujols and watch him do it day in and day out for a while. That's invaluable experience. So it's an interesting one. There's another player on the Angels we got to talk about, though. He is actually tied for the league lead in home runs right now with 10, and that is Shohei Ohtani. I love talking about this kid. I want to talk about him as often as we can. I will shamelessly plug him because I think as much fun as he is to watch, which he's an 11 out of 10 every night to watch because you just don't know what he's going to do. It's amazing. I think he's so incredibly important to the future of the game for two-way players because you've got people of kind of all ages now watching this kid do this season, where I'm talking about pitching at an extremely high level with extreme velocity now that he's healthy and hitting at an elite level. Like I said, tied for league lead in home runs. That's not a fluke. Like he's already got 10. It's insane. You've got to do both of those things, and you've got a bunch of eyes on him watching him do this. And now you're going to have people thinking, well, if he can do that, I can develop myself into doing that. And I think it's a monumental thing for the game, for the future of the game, for future generations to not be so pigeonholed into, well, I can only do one or the other, or I can only do one thing at this level of pitching or hitting, or even, stuck in the field in at a position. So I think he's just so much fun to watch. And I think he's just incredibly important to the game. What do you guys think about Ohtani's early success this season, both on the mound and at the dish?
I mean, this is exactly what we were told we were going to get. I mean, when he first came over, we were like, oh, hey, this is, everybody was throwing out, of course, the, Babe Ruth comparison and all that kind of stuff. And, we knew he was going to be a guy who, was good, or he was projected to be, that difference maker of both the, pitching side and hitting side. So, I mean, hey, we're finally getting what we were told we're going to get after a few, seasons where he, battled injury. I still think that it would be better. I think he would make more of an impact if he were more of a late inning reliever, as well as just being an everyday. Like if he hit every day and didn't have to just I know there's a lot of processes that go into being a pitcher, which, which hitting every day could possibly take away from. So giving him a day or two to adjust to, hey, I got to pitch 6 or 7 innings the next day. I guess, that's a thing you have to think about. But I think, he's, like I said, he's doing exactly what we thought he was going to do because he's pitching pretty well as well. I mean, it's not like he's, just hitting or just pitching well. I mean, he's been doing it all, and that's basically what we're told we're going to get. So I'm glad it's finally panning out.
I mean, it's been absolutely just magical to watch outside of a couple of small injury scares where you're like, okay, is Joe Madden about to put the bubble wrap right back on him again? He's been really entertaining to watch, and something that I love all those freezing cold takes that are popping back up all over again, saying like Shohei Ohtani looks like a high school hitter. There's no way he can get it done on the next level. Like all those stories that are cropping back up all over again are just absolutely hilarious now to look at. Mm-hmm. And B, just how about Shohei seeing those, getting the chip on the shoulder and just refusing to shake it off. Like he has just been absolutely electric every time he steps up to the plate.
Yeah, I mean, it's like I said, it's just a lot of fun. And the idea of imagine, 15, 20 years from now. So potentially after Ohtani's career is done and some of these guys that are in the minors right now, even just imagine if you're 15 to 20 years from down the road and like you were talking about, a late inning reliever who hits every day. I mean, imagine what kind of a mind trip that is for an opposing team to be like, this dude was playing left field for the first 6 innings. He's already hit 2 home runs off us today. Now he's coming out of left field to pitch the 7th and the 8th and throw 102 miles an hour. Like, that's terrifying to even think about as a prospect. Like, that's something to drool over if you have a guy like that could even potentially touch numbers like that. And it's just crazy.
Especially if the runs that he put up are the difference in the game. He's like, all right, guys, I'm going to go protect my lead that I got you guys. I'm just going to go.
Yeah. Hold on a second. I got this for a minute. Like, it's just amazing. And as we kind of hit towards the pitching side of things, let's just delve right into it. So we have had not 1, not 2, not even 3, but as of last night, 4 no-hitters in the first month and a half of this season. We're on pace. And almost a 5th last night. Manaya, yeah, almost a 5th last night. And we've had a couple other close ones. I mean, that go 6, 7 innings, but we get those every year. Not that they're not impressive, but but the fact that we've got 4 of them already this year that were in the books, no hitters, done, boom, bing, bang, boom, plus a 7-inning one. Like, it's pretty absolutely incredible already. We're on pace for, let me do some quick numbers. I don't know, 97 no-hitters this year. Like, it's pretty wild what we've seen so far. So we started off with Joe Musgrove of the Padres getting the first one in San Diego's franchise history. And how cool was it that a Padres fan, a San Diego boy, San Diego guy is the first one to do it there, especially off a rotation that features Yu Darvish, Blake Snell, Danielson Lamet. Sure, why not Joe Musgrove gets the first one? Absolutely, ring it up, put it in the books. Who was the second one? Why can't I think of
Carlos Rodon?
Carlos Rodon of the White Sox through the second no-hitter. Yeah.
Honestly, you can just take Carlos Rodon and Miley's and kind of count them as both half no-hitters because it was against the Indians. The Indians are becoming the team that they're becoming what the Rays were a couple of years ago, where literally Mark Burley's perfect game was against the Rays. Felix Hernandez's perfect game was against the Rays. The Indians are kind of turning into that team that gets no hit. I feel like a lot. So I mean, we'll count. Miley and Rodon are both lefties, so we'll just count it all both as one actual no hitter.
You know what's great about that
because he's recording it.
Yeah, it's the power. What's great about saying that though is the Cubs actually have a 2-game midweek series coming up against the Indians. So one of 2 things is going to happen. Like Zach Davies is going to throw a no-hitter against the Indians, or that the Indians offense is going to explode and it's going to 15 runs a game because we decided to open our mouths and be like, the Indians got no hit twice. That's funny. And then they're going to come and shell Chicago for kicks and giggles. So I'll keep an eye on that one this coming week. That's going to be a lot of fun. I mean, don't get me wrong. I'd love to see Zach Davies throw a no-hitter, but
coming off his best start of the year.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, he's finally shaken up a little bit. I know he had trouble locating pitches in his first few starts. Same thing with Hendricks. And when you're not a high velocity guy and you can't hit and you're not hitting your spots, I mean, you might as well be throwing up meatballs there when you're talking about MLB hitters. So yeah, but I mean, so we've got 4 no hitters with a Wade Miley one last night now. And the John Means one of Baltimore through the 3rd of the season just 4 days ago. Let me ask you this. No, I don't want to do that. So we'll talk about them. So the first 3, pretty crazy stat about those 3, the Musgrove, Rodon, and Means ones. All 3 of them were one individual batter away from a perfect game, and none of them featured an error or a walk. So the Musgrove and the Rodon ones were hit by pitches is how they got their base runner. And then obviously the John Means one was the dropped 3rd strike on a curveball in the dirt that allowed him to the base runner to get to first. So pretty wild that it's cool that we got 3 no hitters, but man, we were 99%. We were almost as close as you can get to perfect games. And we didn't even have a walk or an error. Those are usually what break up perfect games. So pretty impressive with those. And obviously it's not to take anything away from what Wade Miley did last night. I mean, a no-hitter is a no-hitter. I don't care how you get it. You pitched 9 innings and gave up no hits. It goes in the record book all the same. It's a fantastic achievement in the world of pitching. So, hats off to Wade Miley. It was really fun to watch him last night. I know Michael was super excited to watch that. Craig, you looked like you had something to say, though.
I was going to say, Michael, I'll do you a solid. The unique thing about Wade Miley's no-hitter is the fact that they went into, what was it, the 8th or 9th inning where there was no run, like the game was scoreless.
Yeah.
So, like, very easily could have been a situation like we had a couple of years ago with Rich Hill and the Pirates, where it's like, okay, it's 0-0, we're heading to the 10th. What do I do? Because that's a situation where, heck, if let's say in that scenario, if that game does go extras, let's say they leave Miley in, I don't know what his pitch count was. I mean, that's literally a situation where we get to see live, hey, it's 2 sacrifices away from the Indians walking it off, even though Miley threw a no-hitter. Like, that would be the wildest thing ever. I wouldn't even know, but yeah, that was so every no-hitter this year. I mean, heck, you go back to the Rodon one. I mean, it's called the toe hitter for a reason, like barely glances off of Roberto Perez's foot. Literally, literally just a backdoor slider that goes off his, back foot slider that goes off to literal back foot there. So, but yeah, I mean, every, it's not a no-hitter is unique enough, but literally every situation that a no-hitter has been brought up, whether it be the one that doesn't count in Madison Bumgarner's or the other 4 that have counted, there's been something unique to even underlie the no-hitter.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy. So I will let you talk, Michael, I promise. The one thing I want to say about Miley's last night was that imagine being the Cincinnati offense going into that top of the 9th inning where you're like, all the pressure is now on us to like, dude, we got to score this inning so that we avoid what Craig was talking about in those extra innings. So, I mean, like, in my mind, that's probably as much pressure as a regular season game is ever going to get, especially in May, where you're like, it's about winning and losing, sure. But right now we're like, oh, we better like show up because like we're about to become a really bad laughingstock if we can't get this done. And like Craig said, we end up losing this 1-0 off 2 sacrifices in the bottom of the 10th because we were swinging pool noodles all night. We had a historic pitching outing out there already. So go ahead, Michael. I appreciate you holding your breath there, buddy. Go ahead and talk about it.
Well, the interesting thing about that whole game was just how much of a pitcher's duel it was. Because up until that 9th inning, the Reds only had 3 total hits off of Zach Plesac, who was still dominating them. And every time there would be a base runner, he would just shut the entire thing down immediately. So it was definitely a pitcher's duel, something I do enjoy watching from time to time. And going into that top of the 9th, I was wondering, like, okay, do you keep Plesac in because he has kept this team in check, even though he's at 118 pitches? They don't. They make the decision to go with Emmanuel Clase, who is one of the hardest throwing pitchers in the game. And I was like, oh, great. So you're going to go from kind of like your Kyle Hendricks, your Zach Greinke type of pitcher who is a little bit more methodical, got the slow curveball, changeup, slider kind of guy, and you're going to go and give him the gas. Little did the Indians know, and they should have known this already from the last time they lit up Emmanuel Clase, is that the Reds are a really good fastball hitting team, and they looked more confident swinging at every single fastball that he was throwing than they were against Plesac the entire night. But really the only thing that really did him in was the bulk, that horrendous bulk. I don't know if I know I talked to you a little bit about it, Chris, where I believe it was Nick Castellanos, who is not known for stealing bases, took off and he was mid throwing motion and then spun around and just immediately everything got blown off because it's an obvious balk. But just looking at him, just stopping, go, ugh. Like, what? Did you not know what you were doing? Have you not played baseball like a decent chunk of your life? And it was still just
nope.
You could see the frustration on his face. You could see Wade Miley go, "Oh, you're telling me there's a chance I could just win this thing." And then watching him go out there, it wasn't like he struck everybody out. He relied on his teammates to get that no-hitter done, and he was a throwing error by Nick Senzel and a walk away from a perfect game. Two
base runners. Yeah.
That's it. And it's really hard to I would have loved it, but just seeing, like, I've seen all 3 no hitters that the Reds have had since 2012. And that was just awesome. And I was really upset that I had to put my daughter to bed so that she couldn't watch it too. But I think the funniest part of that whole story is we were supposed to record last night, people. We were supposed to. Chris calls me before he even says a word. I'm like, nope. Wade Miley's about to throw a no-hitter. I'm watching this right now. Everything else can wait.
Yeah.
Like everything. Otherwise, it would have been like during the podcast, just like, yep. Let me just
sure.
Like there was no way I was missing that for the world.
Right. I mean, and I wouldn't have wanted to take that moment away from you either. So don't paint me as a villain who was trying to be like, well, it's time to do stuff. All right. I don't care. My team already won today. We just got it done. I don't know. All right. Whatever.
How wild is it? Like you look back at all the pitchers that have been really good for the Reds over the past, decade or so, with your Johnny Cuetos, with your Luis Castillo. So even now with Sonny Gray, you had Trevor Bauer last year, that your last 3 no-hitters are Homer Bailey twice and Wade Miley. Now, of those 2 guys, I would have projected, Miley to be the guy. Because I don't know, for whatever reason, I've always kind of liked Wade Miley. He pitched well in Arizona. He pitched, well enough. He's always been a solid lefty starter. Yeah. He's not going to be your ace of the rotation by any means, but he's just a good starter. So, I mean, of those 2 guys, I'd be like, oh, Wade Miley 100%. But yeah, your last 3 no-hitters in Reds history are Homer Bailey twice, back-to-back seasons, I think. And then, Wade Miley this year.
Especially since with Homer Bailey and just being really, really bad now. And like, it's a really hard, unless you were really like paying attention to those really bad Reds years in 2012 and 2013, like most people kind of forgot. I was at the first one in Cincinnati and I watched the second one on TV, and both times just like between Johnny Cueto and Homer Bailey, I would not have taken Homer Bailey to do this at all.
Yep.
Well, I mean, look at the teams that he no-hit too. He no-hit the Pirates like in the middle of that whole Pirates run where they were making the wild card game almost every year, and then the next year he no-hits the Giants in the middle of their. I mean, it was an odd number year, so I don't know if you count that one. It wasn't an even number year where they actually want to win the World Series, but he did no-hit a Buster Posey led Giants team and an Andrew McCutchen led Pirates team.
Well, then I'll spin it this way. Since it was an even year in 2013 that they no-hit him, he no-hit the defending World Series champs.
Yeah, true.
I mean, at the end of the day, that holds some extra water to it too. But yeah, I mean, the simplest sense, just like all these things that we talk about with baseball, it's part of why we love the sport, is it's baseball. That's the best reason I can give you for why, as you mentioned, of all those great Reds pitchers that we've had in the last near decade, that the last 3 no-hitters for the Reds have been Homer Bailey twice and now Wade Miley, because baseball, because it's such a beautiful, imperfect game that it lends itself to moments like that. And so, yeah, it's just, I mean, so much fun that way. I want to talk about, looks like, am I frozen or is Michael
I think
frozen?
Michael might have froze on us. Michael, can you still hear us?
All right, sounds good. Okay.
All right. Well, we're just gonna keep on rolling here.
We'll just roll. we.
I am the host now. I am the captain now.
Look at me. Okay. Well, we'll get his opinion on this next topic, because it's funny. This is what we wanted to talk about, I think, the most really today is we were talking about. So we talked about these no-hitters that have happened, and then, well, actually, how about let's you and I talk about the Madison Bumgarner dilemma, if you will. So Madison Bumgarner gets again in a doubleheader against the Braves. There we go.
We got
Welcome back. I'm back. Welcome back. Okay, so perfect. I was just talking about we're going to talk real quick about the Madison Bumgarner dilemma. So Madison Bumgarner. You want to wrap
up the fact that we're talking that the Reds aren't going to win another game this year?
We'll do that. We'll do that.
We're not going to talk about the too?
that like they got. Okay, actually, we'll give that a shout out. So one of the coolest, if not the coolest, little mementos or factoids that have come out of the Wade Miley no hitter last night. It says you can see Michael pointing at that temporary Hulk tattoo that's on his forearm. His son essentially gave that to him yesterday morning and said, I want you to wear this, blah, blah, blah. You're going to get a no hitter. No, I don't think he said that, but he was like, I want you to have, he wanted them to put it on. So of course he's a good dad, he put it on for his kid. And then he goes out and throws a no-hitter. So don't expect to see the temporary Hulk tattoo go away anytime soon until his next start, at least if he gets shelled for 6 runs or so. Then he'll probably scrub it off mid-inning. We'll see it in the dugout, him scrubbing it off. So a really, really cool, interesting, fun little factoid that came out of that story last night. But yeah, I'm glad, Michael, your Reds got a no-hitter this year. You can hang the banner for that one because you peaked in May. Congratulations. It's a lot of fun. So
I can kick you out though. Hold on, let's see.
That instant face of like Bob and just straight to down. Absolutely perfect. I love it. Okay, so we're gonna talk about 3 things in baseball. So 2 no-hitters. Well, they were all no-hitters but okay. So we have the Madison Bumgarner 7-inning no-hitter he threw last week against the Braves. So MLB has decided that doubleheaders now, instead of playing 2 full 9-inning games, that it is an official sanctioned MLB game, goes in the standings as a full win for a 7-inning doubleheader. Okay. So Madison Bumgarner goes out and throws a no-hitter for 7 innings, and the Arizona Diamondbacks beat the Braves. Boom. Now we have chaos because now all of a sudden somebody at some point has to make a decision on whether it is an official or unofficial no-hitter that gets recognized in these big book of baseball that tacks onto the total number of no-hitters we've seen in all these things. And it's up and down. There's reasons to call it both. We're going to talk about it real quick. I'm going to say it's a no-hitter. It was scheduled 7 innings. It is not his fault. Like he was scheduled 7 innings. He pitches 7 innings of no-hit ball. He pitched. That's what MLB sanctioned as a full win. Why is it not a full no-hitter? Boom, done. Don't overthink it. It's that simple. What do you guys think about the Madison Bumgarner 7-inning no-hitter?
The big question I'm going to ask right away is what happens if that game goes into 2 innings of, extra innings and technically goes 9 innings and then the Diamondbacks win in the 9th? Is that now technically a no-hitter? Or because it was an originally sanctioned 7-inning game, is it going to be the same thing? If the answer is, well, no, it was an extra innings, then it's a freaking no-hitter. It's that simple. He played a full MLB sanctioned game, allowed no hits through 7. That is the simplest, yep, no-hitter, done. Send it to Cooperstown.
Yeah, I think the easiest solution here for them to finally quantify, because I actually don't mind the 7-inning no-hitter, 7-inning doubleheader thing. I hope that's kind of a thing going forward. Or even if they're okay, the first game of the doubleheader 7 innings, and then we'll go 9 innings in the second one. I can see that being a good happy medium. But because that's the thing too. I think what to play devil's advocate, the argument against why it's not a no-hitter is okay, well technically 5 innings is a complete game. If the rest of it gets rained out, and which would also not be the pitcher's fault. So
exactly. So
you could theoretically throw 5 no-hit innings. The game gets rained out. You won 12-0, and it's technically a no-hitter. It's could be classified as a no-hitter. I think you could easily go in there and be all right. If a game, is played in full with no, weather stoppages or anything, with no stoppage due to weather, or even just say, hey, the minimum for a no hitter is 7 innings and just go to that route. Cause you see because it's a situation where even if, if it goes 9 innings, but let's say they brought in, somebody out of the bullpen, for the Diamondbacks, that would have been a combined no-hitter. There's nothing that says any one pitcher has to go 9 innings, so there's, I think if we can allow combined no-hitters which I don't want to say that's easier, but you're throwing in different pitchers with different pitching styles. It's not one guy fooling an entire team for an entire game. You're bringing in, multiple pitchers that have their own or that you have to adjust to. So, like I said, not to make light of a still impressive feat, but I think if there could be little quirks like that, which is what baseball is all about, the little, quirks, then I think that, you can allow this one to be, a uncertified no-hitter, especially because, again, it was a full game, a game played in full that the MLB made the rule on this year. It's not like Madison said, I only want to go 7 today. So that's what we're going to do. We're going to go 7 innings today. I don't care what the result is. We're just going to go 7.
Done.
So I think there's no reason to not make it. I think it's kind of silly, even if you're playing devil's advocate and saying like, well, because there's nothing in the rule book that says a pitcher has to throw 9 innings, obviously, because there's combined no hitters. There's nothing that says it's got to be a complete 9-inning game, because I think when that rule was, or when that was put in there, every game was going to be 9 innings no matter what. So like the new rule wasn't in there. So either change the rule and say 7 innings is the minimum for a single pitcher no hitter, or I think there's no reason to not make this the Madison Bumgarner a no hitter.
Yeah, I mean, the only thing I saw, as devil's advocate playing against it that I didn't really appreciate, because I was like, that's such, I don't know, just reaching for straws, where I saw people that are like, well, what about a guy? So now you're just slapping the face of all the guys who pitched 8 2/3 and gave up a hit. Well, because if they had only pitched 7 and it's no hitter, well, the difference is this was a 7-inning scheduled game, not a 9-inning scheduled game. If he had given up a hit in 6 2/3, guess what? Then it's done. We're overthinking this. It was a full game. It counts as a regular win. That's the thing that gets me. Everybody seems to have no problems with the 7-inning game counting as a win or a loss and moving on. But then all of a sudden you throw in these things like, well, there's a no hitter. Then, no, it's not a real game. You can't really count it as a no hitter. It is.
Counts as a win.
Yeah. It really is that simple. And honestly, if you want to delve a little further, the Braves that day played 14 innings of baseball because they played those 2 doubleheaders. They got a total of 1 hit across 14 innings. So you can't tell me, logically speaking, the trajectory of that team that day, Madison Bumgarner probably could have thrown 12 innings of no hit ball.
Give Madison Bumgarner and Zach Gallen credit for the 7 innings that Mad Bum pitched, and then the 2 innings that Gallen pitched.
Yeah, just give me one combined. Yeah, just one combined no hitter. Everybody's happy.
It's like that scene from Major League where the announcer's like, "That's all we got, 1 GD hit."
That's it, really? Yeah.
I'm gonna say this to intentionally trigger Michael, but only because I know he wants to talk about it. No, I know it's to give you an option to talk about this, because I know that you brought it up the other day when it was initially brought up. I am more willing to give Madison Bumgarner the no hitter for 7 innings than I am to give John Means the perfect game for the drop third strike.
Yep. 100%.
See? There you go. Now go off, King. Go say what it says.
Fine. I hope you're ready to be suspended for a week. I hope you're ready to be suspended for a week.
Yeah.
It's a dumb rule. The drop third strike is a dumb rule because he was struck out. That's it. I don't care if it benefits me or doesn't benefit me, because especially with a team that had Billy Hamilton, I benefited from that from time to time because Billy Hamilton could not swing the bat. So if a pitcher threw one and it dropped out of the catcher's glove, he was probably going to go to first. Okay, cool, awesome. It's still a dumb rule, and that rule needs to be tossed. And obviously there's no way to go back and change it. But in my mind, if that rule was not in place anymore, perfect game, done. And it really shouldn't be going forward. But that is so dumb.
But the problem is it is in place, and the thing is that because because I didn't happen to catch the game right, and I didn't catch the drop third strike in question, but I went back and watched it, because when I originally heard about it, I thought what happened was that the drop third strike happened. Haggerty ran to first, and the ball got away somehow again, and that's how he tried to go to second and got thrown out. But because the play stopped though. There was already a new batter in the batter's box. It's not like he was then thrown out trying to get greedy and go to an extra base, and it was still literally all one fluid play. Because then I feel like you'd have an argument, because even though he technically reached, he still didn't run the bases. You didn't have a base runner. Because then you would have an argument. But because the play came to a full stop and then another batter took his pitches, then I think that's why that's the difference. And I think Like we can debate the rule until the cows come home. I personally don't mind it because you're not going to have this instance every single time. And so I think otherwise this is the one time in a million that it happens and it actually has like a really negative impact on the game. So I don't think you change it based on that sole principle. But I think because the play stopped, that's what makes me be like, okay, well, then it makes sense that it's not ruled. It sucks because it's literally your team. Like you made 27 outs on your own, but at the end of the day, it still is a team sport, even though I guess, it's a individual achievement to throw a no-hitter or a perfect game. But at the end of the day, it's still a team sport. I mean, Clayton Kershaw came a Hanley Ramirez error away from throwing a perfect game a couple of years ago. I mean, it's still, if Hanley Ramirez could throw from short, I mean, there would have been an out and Clayton Kershaw would have had a perfect game. So you can literally go back throughout the course of history and find the one error, one non-pitcher related, base runners that, thwarted a no-hitter.
But the difference here,
if Jose Tabata gets out of the way of Max Scherzer and doesn't lean into a pitch,
I was waiting on that one. Waiting on that one. That's your boy right there. I'm surprised. Yeah.
Fun fact: that was the day that Chris and I met. Actually, was we my wife introduced him to me. We went out to where did we go? We went to
I want to say B-dubs.
No, it was I can't. It's it's a place on campus that I don't know why it's
not the student center. It was
regardless though. Yeah, I know. Right?
Yeah, now it's gonna bug. It's gonna bug me now. We'll remember it off the air, I'm sure.
Yeah,
but it's gonna bug me now.
Regardless, we went there all to hang out, and it was June 2015. Max Scherzer has a perfect game, and he's like 2 outs away, and Jose Tabata puts his elbow in front of the ball and gets hit, and it takes away the perfect game. So I mean, you want to talk about perfect games that should be. I mean, there's one that I at least give a little bit. So yeah, it stinks. Because it John Means literally didn't struck him out, had the out, but it's just his team at the end of the day that let him down.
So there's two things here. There's two things that are both true. That rule is dumb and needs to be looked at and possibly taken out or at least adjusted. And B, John Means didn't throw a perfect game because he allowed a base runner. Both of those things are true in my eyes. Like it sucks because you're saying if the rule was that, when you start getting into the ifs and ands and like if the refs decide to throw a flag on pass interference, like in the Saints Rams game, who the hell knows what will happen? I mean, it's a completely you're once you're into that realm, it's really tricky to there. But like the thing is, a perfect game as the problem is people look at perfect games as 27 up and 27 down. Well, if you're only looking at it in the lens of 27 up and 27 down, that's technically what he did. Because even though that base runner reached first, he was immediately thrown out trying to advance to second, and then the side was retired, so he still faced the minimum. The problem is a perfect game also has the actual requirement of you cannot allow a base runner. And as Craig said, the play was dead. There was a base runner. There was a player standing on first base. If you're looking at your app, in that moment, your little yellow thing is lit up. There's a guy standing on first base. I don't care how he got there. He could have cartwheeled there. And if he's safe, he's on first. It sucks. And it sucks that, that happened in the third inning. Nobody thought anything of it at the time. And then you have to go back after the game and realize, oh, crap, that was a perfect game. We were that close to it. Boom. Again, now we have this whole controversy. The rule sucks and needs to be and can be looked at and possibly adjusted or taken out. John Means didn't throw a perfect game. They're both true.
It was a strike out. He struck him out. It's different from Hanley Ramirez can't throw. It's just, sorry, excuse my language. I'm a little heated on this one actually today. A little heated, but it's not like another player made the error. It was, oh hey, I struck him out, and the ball just went right out of the gloves.
Just think of it as it's a catch. Think of it as a catcher's error. We're so hung up on the fact that he struck out it's a catcher's error. You're looking at what is the throwing error? Is your shortstop not being able to throw it to first base? As a pitcher, you made the right pitch, got the contact you needed, and should have got the out, but you didn't. It's the same thing. You threw a pitch that he swung at, missed. It should be strike 3. Your team let you down, didn't stop the ball, and didn't record the out. Done. It sucks. but it's the way the rule is right now in 2021. Like, it's that much. That's what it is right now. It sucks. In 5 years, if that rule is taken out and we have the same scenario happen, cool. There's a perfect game. We'll embrace it just the same. It's fantastic. The problem is with the way the rules are right now, it's not a perfect game. It's still a no-hitter. It's still the most impressive. It's the most impressive one of the year in my eyes too, because let's talk about the fact that it's the first one in Baltimore for a solo no-hitter since 1969 with Jim freaking Palmer. Like, it's amazing. It's an amazing story in and of itself without focusing so much on the cloud of controversy over the drop third strike. It's still an impressive feat, an incredible feat, and one that John Means and Baltimore will remember forever. So it's fantastic to talk about it in that light as well. It's very important, to talk about the fact that it's still a no-hitter, and still bring up obviously that it was, this close to a perfect game, but unfortunately not that. So to wrap up this segment, while we're all heated, while we're all talking about this, I want to give you 3 scenarios. So John Means is no-hitter. Madison Bumgarner's 7-inning complete game without allowing a hit. Fine. Number 3, Armando Galarraga 10 years ago throws a goddamn perfect game, and Jim Joyce decides to call that last runner safe. Looking at those 3, if you can alter one of them, if you can go back and actually go in the record books and fix one of them to where they are either a perfect game for John Means Galarraga or an actual official no-hitter for Madison Bumgarner, which one are you altering? Craig, lead us off as our guest.
Well, I mean, I think we gotta just take a look at the fact that Michael's definitely now suspended. Next week. But no,
yes,
no.
Yes, it's in the contract.
luckily, I'm here, so I know where to edit that out. So that's good.
Yes.
So I
perfect.
But anyway,
technology's great.
Yeah. So I am going to take the not obvious decision, because I think all 3 of us would pick Armando Galarraga just because that's literally, Chris and I talked about it the other day. If you look at these 3 on their own, I mean, it gets worse as you go along, as you go back through history, because John Means misses out on a perfect game because of his team ultimately at the end of the day let him down by not, securing the out on the strikeout. Then you go to Madison Bumgarner, who literally throws a no-hitter, but the MLB said, oh, well, it's not a no-hitter because we decided that the game was only going to be 7 innings. So even though we're the ones that made that decision, you're screwed now. And then you take it a step further, and the MLB, instead of just, outside of the game, screwing you out of an accomplishment in the actual game itself with the umpires, actually screws you out of a perfect game by being like, no, we decided he's safe. We don't care how out he was. He could have been still standing in the batter's box. He's going to be safe. Well, I mean, that's obvious. That's not what happened. Jim Joyce. I mean, that whole story is really actually good, because Jim Joyce is a respected umpire, and he was crying afterwards. I'm not saying he had to make up for it, but no, I mean, he was genuine. Look, I just promise. I just could cost that kid a perfect game. You could even argue that Armando Galarraga is, more famous for it not being a perfect game than he would have been if he would have thrown one. Because, I mean, a great parallel to that perfect game is Philip Humber for the Chicago White Sox. Throws a perfect game. I don't know if it was that same year or maybe a year
it was close.
Prior.
Yeah, it was right around that time.
And, I mean, you don't really hear anyone talking about that. And I don't know what he's even doing now, because at least other ones where you could talk about Dallas Braden, he's a broadcaster for the A's. You kind of know what everybody else is up to now. But Philip Humber, only reason I know who Philip Humber is that I was playing a guy in fantasy baseball, and the guy I was playing against him literally picked him up for that day to stream him, and he throws a perfect game, and then I think he dropped him the next day. Trent Dilfered him. And I was like, oh, cool. When I pick up somebody, he gives up 10 runs. When this guy picks him up, he throws a perfect game. So yeah. That's the only reason why I remember Philip Humber's no hitter perfect game. So I mean, you could go back and change those one. I think those would be kind of the easy one. That would be the biggest one to point out. But I think the one I'm going to go with is Madison Bumgarner's, just because he is the only one who actually did the feat, as far as because technically Armando Galarraga allowed a base runner. I mean, it sucks. I mean, but I think you could also go back through, other no-hitters, other perfect games and find an instance or other would-be perfect games and find instances where, maybe, the umpire messed something up because, I mean, the one reason why the one for Galarraga is so memorable is because it was literally the final out. But you can't tell me if a batter, in the, well, I mean, heck, go back to Scherzer, if they make a rule on Tabata sticking out his elbow, then he has a perfect game. So, I mean, that was literally a perfect game in the hands of the umpire, and they decided not to do that. So, I mean, that one, I mean, even though, like I said, it'd probably be the obvious one you'd want to go back and change. That's the reason why I'm not going to pick that one. But Madison Bumgarner literally threw a no-hitter. He threw a complete, a perfect game, a complete game by MLB standards without allowing a hit. So if I could change anything from being a not no-hitter or a non-perfect game to a no-hitter perfect game, it'd be Madison Bumgarner because he literally completed the feat. He, with there's no, question. Oh, well, what if it would, except for the fact, like, what if it would have been 9 innings, but you don't have to say that. I mean, you could say, well, what if John Means had to throw the 10th inning? We don't have that discussion. Like, it's literally like they didn't have to because, they were up by 6 runs. So they were going to play extra innings. So I think you changed Madison Bumgarner's.
Michael, what do you think?
I'm going to also go with Madison Bumgarner because exactly like Craig said, he did it. The MLB scheduled the game for 7 innings. He completed the game with 7 innings with no hits. It's a no-hitter. I know his hat is already in Cooperstown because I think even they're saying like, yeah, it's done. There it is. But it's still like, I don't understand why the MLB is just like, no, no way. Not a no-hitter. It's not 9 innings. No.
Rob Manfred's like, that would advance the popularity of our game. So no, we can't do that.
So no.
Wait, people will like us?
Yeah.
Oh, can't do that.
And our hunk of metal?
Can't do that.
Yeah,
no.
Yeah.
Oh my God. Yeah, it's ridiculous. All right. Well, I'm going to take the obvious, easy, boom, boom. Here's your air traffic control lights. Here, I loaded the question for a reason to pick this one. I'm going with Galarraga. All it takes is not even an instant replay for you to look at that final out. And like you said, it's the final out. There's literally no other question of like, well, he still had another inning to get through. So you don't know, maybe. No, this was it. He had 26 up, 26 down. He gets the ground ball. Miguel Cabrera goes to his right, fields the ball, turns, throws it to the Galarraga covering the base. By the way, it's as heartbreaking of a final out that wasn't an out as you can be. Because think about the fact that the pitcher who's about to record the perfect game gets a chance to go and cover first base. And he gets there. He catches the ball, looks down, has time to then tag his foot and make sure he's on the base. He's in there, for a millisecond, in his moment, he's like, I did it. I did every single thing. We're great. Yay. And then just to see the umpire just go like this and just have everything get flooded out of you. All you need to do to watch that, to know how heartbreaking that was for the guys on the field, you need to watch 2 players, not even Galarraga, because he was just kind of laughing in disbelief that when the camera finally goes to his face. Watch Miguel Cabrera, because he runs to his right, fields that ball. As soon as he throws it, you can literally see him like, Craig, it looked like Chris Bryant when he recorded the final out of the World Series. He threw the ball, and instantly it's just like, done. And he gets his arms like up here and then just dead. Again, flooded out of him. So watch Miguel Cabrera if you go back and watch the highlight. And then also, I wish I could remember his name. I'm a horrible podcast host. I'm so sorry. Watch the base runner, because he actually he's running to first. Boom, 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 boom. The play's made. He thinks he's out. And then he looks up and sees Jim Joyce go safe. And even he's like, safe? Like, what? And then of course you see all you need to see is one instant replay to see it is a bang bang play. I'm not trying to make it sound more egregious than it was. It was a bang bang play, and it's not easy to be an umpire at that moment, like in that spot, in any spot, to make that call, because things happen so fast. But instant replay shows he had him by half a step, and that's a big big difference than like, well, is this spike actually touching the base at the moment the ball is getting into the glove? It's not that close. He beats him by half a step. The final out should have been recorded, and it's a perfect game with no controversy and no nothing.
Like, you know that how impactful the non-perfect game is, and how non-impactful that final base runner was when Jason Donald is his name. I just looked him up.
Thank you.
And literally, that's one of the things on his Wikipedia page. That's that's one of his signature moments in his career, as being the guy that technically broke up Armando Galarraga's. Those are the only two lines that he has for his career as a Cleveland Indian. Which bringing it back to the Indians being no hit.
There. Oh my God!
We
there you go. They should have even had another perfect game thrown against them. Was that
a career 257 hitter with 7 home runs through? I think he played 3 seasons. So,
oh my gosh, was
different teams.
Was that actually count? So, did they ever count that as a hit? So, like, he didn't even get a no hitter, right?
Right. Yeah, it counted as a hit. Yeah, because
it's not an error.
Yeah.
Well,
it's a bang bang play, so I think that's what makes it a hit. Like, I think because it was close enough to not be like, well, he would have been out if
the throw didn't take him off the base, or if the throw didn't slow him down. Like,
right, yeah.
It's actually been so long since I've seen that I actually had to look at the video again and watch it. Man, thank goodness there's instant replay now, because that would have been immediately reversed.
So the funny thing. So that's the thing. That right there was my last point I was going to make on this. Is Michael's talking, you were talking about the John Means one, and you're like, well, if that rule was changed, then John Means has a perfect game. Well, here's the deal. If Armando Galarraga's game happens 6 years later, and we have instant replay for challenges, he throws a perfect game and it's over. The point is he doesn't, because of the context that game was played that day. It's the same rule that unfortunately has to apply in 2021 to John Means. Like, it's the same thing. And it sucks. I wish so. If I could go back and change one of the 3, I 100% would change the Galarraga one, because that's, to me, the most egregious one. Even though I do agree that Craig is right, that had he been ruled out and we never have this controversy, you forget all about Armando Galarraga's perfect game, just like you do Philip Humbar's and even Dallas Braden's to a degree. But it's one of those sports things that, my heart breaks every time you see that highlight, because you're like, man, it sucks. And I don't think Jim Joyce did it on purpose. Like, I know he didn't do it on purpose, but like, it sucks to know that moment is out there, that like something so pure in the world of sports was essentially stolen from him, from the fans, from us, from the record books, because of a moment's thought, of a moment's like, nope, I thought he was safe. And all it takes is an instant replay to show you that no, he was out, and it's not close. Like, and it's, once you look at a replay, it's there. So again, it's not like it's a bang bang where, I will take to the grave the Super Bowl 43, the Santonio Holmes not catch, but like, I at least have to admit there's enough replay evidence out there where like I can see where a dumber mind that isn't so keen on things would think that was a catch. So like, I can see that one. This one, you don't have a human being out there today that's like, no, he was actually safe anyway. He got the call right. I mean, so it sucks. It's unfortunate. The last bit of baseball we can do, guys, since the 3 of us are here, remember about a month ago, we actually did an MLB season prediction. So I just want to kind of, let's update on that, how we're going. We don't have a whole lot of time, so we're just going to do what our World Series predictions were and who we won. And I just want to see how, we can't change them, we're sticking by them, but I want to see how we're feeling about our predictions a little over a month in. So I'll lead us off. I had predicted a World Series of the Chicago White Sox and the Atlanta Braves. So before the year started for the White Sox, Eloy Jimenez got hurt. He was going to be out at least 5 to 6 months, so more than likely the entire season, unless he makes a Kyle Schwarber-esque recovery and can play late in the postseason. We do not really realistically expect him to play this season, so that's a big blow to the White Sox. But I countered that by saying, I still think their lineup is top notch. Their pitching they bolstered their pitching by adding, Liam Hendricks and Lance Lynn. So, and that's what hurt them last year. So basically that's why I thought they were going to be there. The Atlanta Braves, kind of the same boat. People seem to already forget that they had a 3-1 lead on the eventual World Series champs last year. And they have such a young core that's tied together for years to come that they're going to be a massive threat, I think, for the next half decade at least, with guys like Freddie Freeman, Ronald Acuna, and Ozzie Albies, and even Dansby Swanson's picking it up. They brought back Marcell Ozuna for some more pop. I mean, they have pieces all around. They brought in their big addition this year was Charlie Morton, who has been a solid addition so far early on in the year. I'm still feeling pretty confident about that decision. I know the White Sox are kind of in a little bit of turmoil right now. Luis Robert just got hurt. Believe it, he tore his hip tendon. Like, I don't know how you do that, but he completely tore his hip. So that's horrible. He'll be out for, I think I saw like 12 to 16 weeks before essentially he picks up a baseball. So it's going to be longer than that for him to get back to game shape. So that's a huge blow. But I think in that AL Central, I think, they have a half game. The White Sox have a half game lead right now over the Indians. They're at 17-13. I think that division lends itself to be one, especially with Minnesota not starting off hot. They're 12-19. I think it's still for the White Sox to take. So I'm feeling pretty confident. I picked the White Sox to win. No, I picked the Braves to win it all. And I am definitely still feel pretty good about that one. On a scale of 1 to 10, I'd say I'm still about an 8 on that one. I feel pretty confident that the Braves, who right now are 15-17, they're technically in 4th place in the NL East, but that division is so close. They're only 2.5 games out of the division lead behind the Phillies. So I think Atlanta's going to be okay. I think they're still going to be a tough out in the National League playoffs. And so I'm sticking with my pick. I like it. I still think I'm pretty confident in that one. Craig, remind us of what your World Series looked like.
Well, mine was the only one that was technically different from you guys. Mine was, the Padres and the Yankees. And honestly, with your guys, I was going to say that, like, I'd almost feel better about the Braves, than I do the White Sox, with the White Sox losing Robert, because now that's going to be a huge blow for them, because the Braves just got Max Fried back. If he can pick up and start pitching well again, I think they're going to be in relatively good shape. Especially, hopefully in June they'll get Mike Soroka back. So I think they'll be just fine. I think the White Sox are a little bit more of a question mark. But for me, it was the Padres and the Yankees. And right now you've got the Padres. What's funny is I didn't pick them to win their division. I picked them to be in the wild card game hosting the Mets. And if the playoffs were today, that's literally what it would be. It would be the Padres hosting the Mets. So pretty happy about that. So we'll see, if that ends up panning out. So I think I'm feeling good about the Padres. They're 18-15 right now. You have the San Francisco Giants who are leading the NL West. I don't know how long that will really last. Because I feel like the last few years, the Giants have been like, they're supposed to have been bad. And for whatever reason, they just hang around. Like last year, they were, really close to beating out the Brewers for that final spot. I know 2 years ago, they had like a really good, I think it was like August or something like that, where they just tore the cover off the baseball. We'll see if that holds up. Maybe it will, maybe it won't. We'll see. And then you have the Dodgers, who are kind of scuffling, but they'll get it back in order soon. And that's kind of how I feel about the Yankees right now. The Yankees are at 500. They're scuffling right now, but I think if there's a team that can go out there and go and acquire some pitching to help them out, acquire another bat, it's the Yankees. And really, so both the Padres and the Yankees, I think, are two teams in position that no matter what their issues are, no matter what their record is, come the trade deadline, they're in a great position to add talent. So I still feel pretty confident. I'm going with, if I'm giving, a number between 1 and 10 as far as how confident I am in those picks, I'm still going to go with a 8, because I think, they can still turn it around. The Yankees can, obviously. And you have the Padres, who are right in the thick of things in the NL West.
Is that so? Who was your actual champion? I don't remember. Was it the Yankees?
Padres.
Okay. So you're still an 8 on them, which yeah, I mean, I like it. Yeah, no one really predicted, like you said, the Giants to be where they are right now. But the fun of baseball so far is, like you said, always that team that kind of comes out of nowhere. And 2, we're a month and a half into the season, right. So all of this is relatively arbitrary.
And you have Tatis, who is injured for a month, and you've got Machado, who's slumping. So if those two guys, figure it out as we expect them to, I mean, that would be a big pickup for them.
Yep.
I mean, I had, just like Craig alluded to, I had the White Sox and the Braves, and I had the White Sox actually winning it all instead of the Braves, unlike Chris. And I mean, this has not really gone out the way I think anybody kind of anticipated, especially with Luis Robert going down. But as of right now, albeit barely, the White Sox are still leading their division. So, I mean, they're a half game ahead of the Cleveland Indians, who are currently up on Cincinnati and would quickly bring that back. But I'm still very confident in my pick because I don't see Atlanta continuing to slump for very much longer. I do see them kind of taking off. And the only other pick that I can really say that I was like, I kind of saw this coming was Chris had the Angels winning their division. How's that currently going for you? I think that was the one that we were all kind of very, very heated about between the three of us.
They're only 5 games back, baby.
But me and Craig both had the Oakland A's. And we're like, yeah, they got this. And you were like, no, Angels, Mike Trout. Always Mike Trout. American League, center fielder, Mike Trout.
We're in the first. My watch tells me we're in the first week of May. We'll talk about this in September. We'll see how it goes.
I know, but
you're that guy.
They give you some crap.
I was like, yeah, but you're that guy talking junk up 1-0 in the second inning. Like, yeah, we got this. Lock it down. Like, all right, bud. Yeah, okay, all right. Still got plenty of game to play. We'll see how it goes. As long as, let's be honest though. As long as it's not Houston, I think we all win. So it's fine.
Yes. Oh my goodness. When they went back to New York, that was the great. Best thing.
Oh, it was just so good.
All the social media fire. I just remember seeing one guy following a Yankees stadium like worker holding an inflatable trash can as the guy behind him's like, oh come on, let me have it.
Just let me have it back. Yeah.
Like come on.
It was so good. I will give you guys a little credit because it looks like, I mean, as of right now, currently as of recording, the best record in baseball does belong to those Oakland A's out in the AL West. So they're at 21-14. Hey, every time, if you can win 2 out of 3 games and win every series like that, you're setting yourself up for major success. So yeah, it's been a fun first month and a half. Craig, we got a really quick last thing we'll talk about baseball. We got to mention, hey, our Cubs are on a 5-game win streak. I mean, and not only that, they had a 3-game sweep of the Dodgers, who hadn't been swept since late 2019. Not only is that true, not only did they do that with back-to-back walk-off wins, how crazy was it that they go through Trevor Bauer, Clayton Kershaw, and Walker Buehler to get that sweep? It's pretty incredible, especially when you're the Cubs. You think Baez and Rizzo and Bryant and Contreras, but I mean, it's been guys like Matt Duffy who came through today against the Pirates with the clutch go-ahead hit. It's Jason Hayward doing his thing, and it's Jake Marisnick. Yeah, has been huge. Rake Marisnick has been huge early on in this year. So the Cubs are sort of figuring it out. They're still stumbling, obviously, a little bit, but yeah, a nice 5-game win streak kind of cures all for at least for a little bit, and a chance to go sweep the Pirates tomorrow. So that'll be a lot of fun. Any last minute baseball stuff before we hit our last big story of the night?
No, I think we're good.
I think we're good on that.
Okay, well, as you guys know, we are all in Indiana, and so we had to talk some Pacers because there was a bombshell Bleacher Report article that came out about 3 days ago now, talking about first-year head coach. We'll call him New Nate because I still, a year in, have not learned how to pronounce his last name. So Bjorkgren. Okay, so New Nate it is. Got it. It's Nate Bjorkgren. See, I just New Nate. It's fine. So this whole article comes out. So the Pacers have been just a model of inconsistent this year. They've consistently been inconsistent, up and down, all over the place, losing games they should win, winning games they should win, getting blown out when you don't expect to get blown out, and vice versa, as in that Thunder game the other day, dropping 154 points. So it comes almost to no surprise that this report comes out. That's like, shocker, new first-year head coach Nate Bjorkgren not having a good year as a coach. And this whole report comes out where, like, basically the Pacers didn't do a proper interview process on this guy. They only talk, basically all of this is according to this report. It's not what we're thinking or saying. It's all of this according to this report. The highlights are essentially the Pacers didn't do a good interview process because they only talked basketball with him and not they didn't focus at all on how he interacts with other people. They didn't even talk to the craziest part of the story to me was they didn't even talk to TJ Warren, who previously played for him when he was an assistant in Phoenix. So they actually had somebody in the Pacers organization, a player who had previous experience with this guy, and they didn't even bother to talk to him throughout the hiring process and see what he thought of the guy. And so that's a big red flag, just to mess that up when you've got somebody in your doorstep that knows this guy already. That's an easy question to go like, hey, how was it in Phoenix? What did you like? And apparently like TJ Warren didn't like him and like didn't like his coaching style because he's very, again, the highlights came out that he is very controlling, micromanaging, and wants to literally control every bit of everything and be essentially a drill sergeant with these guys. And so he butts heads a lot with coaching staff and with players alike. And now you come to find out that throughout the year, the Pacers have, one of their assistants has resigned because essentially, again, according to this report, because he did not want to coach under Bjorkgren anymore. TJ Warren, that player we mentioned who worked with him and was under him in Phoenix, actually chose to have an elective and a somewhat elective surgery on his foot to fully heal that and miss the rest of this year and not play underneath Bjorkgren. So it's a crazy bombshell report. And then it comes a day after, a day before Goga Batadze and Greg Foster get into it in the middle of a game. Greg Foster, one of the assistant coaches of the Pacers, yells at Goga that he allowed an easy dunk and didn't rotate on defense. And then Goga comes down the other end, hits a three, and looks at him and tells him to sit the F down, which was like, I don't really, you're fine. You're like a 10-minute a game dude. Like, let's take it down a minute. But like, all right. So the craziest thing to me is just all of this stuff, this infighting doesn't happen in Indiana. It doesn't happen in this Pacers organization. At least not before. I know we had the Malice of the Palace, but that wasn't infighting. That was we're going to beat the crap out of Detroit, not ourselves. And this is just a whole level of chaos and things that we just are typically seeing in the Pacers organization. So the main question here is, where do you go from here?
The obvious thing, I just feel like the head coach cannot be here next season if this is how his staff is going to be, if this is the way he's going to coach, unless he is going to come out and have a full 360. Like, there's no way that Nate is going to be here next season or should be here next season. I think it's going to be a lot easier for them just to, go back to the drawing board and make sure that, you talk to your players. Don't be the Green Bay Packers. Talk to your players about any, like, especially these coaching decisions, because ultimately they're the ones that are going to have to deal with it. They're the ones that are going to get the brunt of it, especially with Goga. I mean, showing some emotion, getting fired up, his coach was, a lot of crap. I understand that, but man, you cannot just have that kind of on court, on television kind of spat, because that's good for nobody. Absolutely nobody.
Yeah, I mean, and you just kind of have to self-evaluate. If you're the Pacers, you got to see exactly, what you're going to do, because this is now a Pacers team that has moved on from Oladipo. So it's not like you have, obviously, you look at the trade that you get back from him. You get Karis LeVert, you're excited about that. But this is a team that mainly, TJ Warren, I would say, is your biggest asset as of right now, or one of your biggest assets. And so I think, you mentioned, see it, Michael, if you mentioned to see if, like, maybe if Bjorkgren changes his attitude, give him another year. I think it's no question you get him out this year, because, even though, the Pacers haven't really adhered a lot of times to the, it being a players league and bowing to the wants of the players, as opposed to, as like most teams that just let their players do kind of whatever. And and that's kind of the crazy thing too, is that when Bjorkgren was first hired, I thought it was going to be a good move, in the sense that this is a guy who had a lot of success at the G League level. You got a team in the Pacers that has a lot of young talent, so you kind of put the two pieces together and say, okay, he's good at developing talent, he's good at that kind of thing, and that might be what the Pacers need, is someone who can develop that talent and get them to where they need to go. And so it just hasn't gone their way this season, and I think that now it's coming out that this kind of stuff is happening. Typically you don't want your head coach to be a just a puppet for the players, but you want them to at least, kind of acknowledge your role in the league that you're in. I mean, hearing some of the stuff that has happened in that locker room, it kind of was like, this would be strict for, the NFL. Like if you told me an NFL coach was trying to do this, I'd be like, okay, that kind of makes sense. But like in a league where it's literally just the players that kind of run things, to have that kind of mentality is not going to fly. So I think you have to get rid of, Bjorkgren, just to kind of show to that locker room that like, hey, we hear you. This is our bad. We're going to move on, as opposed to being like, oh, well, you guys didn't like him, but we'll just play better. Maybe he'll be nicer to you. Like I don't know if if like that would really fly. So I think you got to self-evaluate, see, what the direction of your team. Cause I mean, obviously they could also be like, all right, well, this means we're going to trade TJ Warren now because he didn't like him. And maybe, they could go that route, but I think the better route would be, okay, we're going to side with our players. We still have a young core that can, with the right coach, can, put us right back to where we think we can be. So let's go ahead, show our players that, hey, we're committed to you guys, and get rid of the guy that's been the problem.
Yeah. I fully agree with what you said, Craig. I think the hardest thing to do, but I think it's the right thing to do, is basically come out and say, we made a mistake in this hiring. We didn't do a full process, whatever you need to do. We made a mistake and we're ending it now. We're cutting bait with it now. We're not going to drag this mistake out longer to try and hopefully salvage something from it. Nope. It's too bad. There wasn't anything here. We have way too many problems already this first year. This is the first year. Like, I understand having growing pains as a new head coach, and giving him some leash. We're not talking about anything like that, well, he's made a couple mistakes. If you're talking about something in game where like, well, he's making mistakes with rotations and he's not putting the right guys in at the right times and we're losing close games because of that. Yeah, he's going to learn from these and get better. No, that would be a completely different story. This is, he is, I mean, if this Bleacher Report article is true and then some, he is not what you want in a head coach. He's not the type of person you want there. He's not, and it's obviously not leading to happy players or wins. So nobody is winning at this point in that organization. So you have to rip the Band-Aid off, start again, and then reevaluate. Like I said, yeah, your head coach, your players, and even your front office, your process. You need to take a look at your own process and make sure that this can't happen again. That if you do not want to be the team that fires a head coach every other year and moves on and switches coaches. It never leads to success in sports when you're constantly having that kind of turnover at that position. So
ask Jackson.
Now granted, there is some tinkering that I think also needs to be done with the roster, but first and foremost, that head coach, that Band-Aid needs to be ripped off and you need to go evaluate and get somebody else. I mean, if you go get Mike D'Antoni, fine. If you go get Becky Hammon, I would love to go get Becky Hammon to fix this entire culture in one fell swoop would be amazing, but probably won't happen. She's probably not leaving San Antonio. So anyway, but yeah, I think.
You don't think she'd leave San Antonio to be the first female head coach?
In Indiana?
I think the reason it doesn't have anything to do
that's playoff caliber and isn't gonna be because I mean, where's she gonna go where she can contend? Is she gonna go to Brooklyn? Is she gonna go be the next coach in LA? Yeah. There's I don't think, I think Indiana's as good of a choice as any other.
I agree. I think if she were to leave San Antonio, Indiana's a fantastic landing spot for her. I think the biggest reason she won't leave San Antonio necessarily is because I feel like she is actually actively being groomed to replace Pop anyway.
Yeah, probably.
So yeah. I think she kind of already has that in motion where if that's true, why mess with that to go anywhere? Not anything specific with Indiana, but why go anywhere when you've had, a couple of years now of Greg Popovich grooming you to take over for him? That seems like the easiest no-brain decision in my mind if you're going to be that path. So I'd be shocked to see her go and coach really anywhere besides San Antonio. If that were the case, I would love for her to end up in Indy. I do think she would be a great fit here on a young, possibly contending Eastern Conference team. I think it'd be fantastic. I don't see her going to an LA team where the spotlight is there, or the Knicks or the Brooklyn Nets or anything crazy like that. I think Indiana would be a perfect landing spot if she were to leave San Antonio. But I also think she's perfect in San Antonio. So I fully just expect her to stay there more than any other place. But yeah, for the Pacers, I don't see Bjorkgren coming back next year. It sucks to be that way, but like it is what it is. And at this point, like I don't, it's too much. It's too much in that report that is way too many red flags that aren't fixable things. That like, I understand you're a young head coach and you're trying to find your way. That's cool. I hope you get another opportunity somewhere else, like a la Josh McDaniels. I mean, screw him, but also like, I understand like why Denver never wanted to touch him again, why Indy's not going to want to touch him again, but like, he may still get a shot somewhere else. I think the same kind of thing can be thought of with Bjorkgren, where like Indy is going to cut bait with him and wish him the best. And somebody else may still pick him up because I think he can be a good coach. And I think he just needs to learn from this experience that he had this year and change. But I just don't think Indy has the time or the patience to wait for that development from their head coach. So yeah, I really did want to talk about that one, especially with you guys, just because, again, like I said, we're all Pacers fans here, so it's been a weird season, and this whole article, at least in my mind, kind of alluded to why I think we've had such an up and down, inconsistent season, and things like that. So, yeah, at the end of the day, too, the quote that stuck out from me the most from that article was that people felt like Bjorkgren was coaching the team he wished he had instead of the team that he actually has. So he was trying to fit these specific pieces of a puzzle into places that don't fit. And that's where we're butting heads and having issues. Is he is stubborn enough to not alter the way he coaches the way he wants to coach, and you better figure it out. Where, especially as Craig alluded to, the NBA is such a players' league, it doesn't really work that way. Unlike the NFL, where a coach comes in with a system, and then you do kind of figure out what his system is and work that way. The NBA is the other way around. A coach comes in and has what he's got as a roster and works with that. Where I think Bjorkgren did kind of the opposite. And yeah, it backfired on him this year. It really, really has. So we'll see how that saga ends up. But I think that's about all I've got for those Pacers. It was just a crazy, wild story that came out this week. And like I said, just kind of blew my mind because you just don't see that in Indiana. And the very last thing I'll say, and I think you all can agree with this, is it makes me just so happy on the other end of town there to have Chris Ballard, Jim Irsay, and Frank Reich running the Colts, because what a night and day scenario it really is in those two franchises in the same city. So kind of fun to look at the opposite ends of the spectrum there. All right, let's do our picks of the week real quick. We're running out of time. Got producers in my ear saying we got to hurry it up and finish this up. I'll kick us off for our new picks of the week. This week, I am going with we're almost to those NBA playoffs. Less than 2 weeks away from the start of the play-in tournament and the playoffs. I'm looking at a Sunday night Western Conference matchup of the Phoenix Suns, who I've talked about all the season long on just about every episode of our podcast, so I won't go into them too much. But the Phoenix Suns take on the Lakers. It's a big matchup. The Phoenix Suns are currently just one game out of the 1 seed behind Utah, so they still have stuff to play for. They could potentially grab the 1 seed in the West. Think about that for a moment, that the young Phoenix Suns, led by Chris Paul, DeAndre Ayton, and Devin Booker, could potentially be the 1 seed in that super tough Western Conference with teams like LA and Utah and Denver, among others. So pretty impressive season that they've had, regardless of how it shakes out. Been a lot of fun to watch. And then the Lakers are stumbling. They're the 7 seed right now, guys. They're in the play-in tournament that LeBron is vocal about not wanting to be in. So it's pretty interesting. So they've got stuff to play for. So do Phoenix. I think it's going to be a fun one, but I think Phoenix handles it pretty easily. I think I had it at like a 141 to 126 win, because Phoenix is just going to catch fire. And I think they're pissed that Indy scored 150 plus points, so they want to kind of show them up. They'll end up getting over 140 on the Lakers there.
And I'm going to be taking a game that, well, it isn't like massive, like, oh, this is potentially finals matchup. Just because it's a really fun matchup at the end of the year, you don't really get too many of these left. I'm taking the Nuggets and Hornets on Tuesday.
Okay.
Where you got two teams, especially ever since LaMelo's back, the Hornets have been rolling the last few games. And I mean, the Nuggets are the Nuggets. So you have a potential MVP in Jokic versus probably the likely rookie of the year in LaMelo Ball, it's going to be entertaining. Do I think it's going to be close? No. The Nuggets are going to roll over 140 to 127. But is it just going to be fun seeing Jokic dominate in the paint and seeing LaMelo throw like underhand touchdown passes? It's just going to be a lot of fun, and that's going to be the big thing with this game.
You know that, Craig, that kid in school who would copy your answers but alter it just enough to make it look like his own? Is that what you just did with my score? Is you're like, I'm going to take that score, but I'm gonna change it by a number so he'll never know.
No, I was literally scrambling. We were both scrambling right before this started to like fill in our picks, and I think we both got done pretty similar.
That sounds like a good score.
That'll work. That'll work. Those are numbers.
So what makes me laugh about, talking about LeBron a little bit, being upset about the play-in tournament is it makes me laugh that he's voicing his concerns now as someone who manages or someone who's the commissioner of a couple of like fantasy leagues, like across a couple of different sports. It's that person that like does it like you at the beginning of the year, like, hey, make sure you read the rules, make sure it's good for everybody. Yep. And then like when that rule actually applies to them halfway through the year, well, wait a minute, I didn't know that was the rule. Yeah, that was the rule at the beginning of the year. Why didn't you tell me then that you didn't like it, and then it could be changed? Why are you waiting until that situation applies to you, and then you decide? Because I actually am a fan of the play-in tournament. I think it's a great idea.
I think it's gonna be fun.
LeBron, who didn't even think he was gonna be anywhere close to that scenario, was like, I don't need to worry about that. And then now they're staring down the barrel of the play-in tournament. He's like, I don't like it. Well, I'm sorry, you can't change it. That's how it's literally gonna be. So I don't know.
LeBron.
I don't know.
Change anything.
Man. I don't know what the standard is for what Todd A picks, but I feel like it's probably against the grain, and so that's where I'm going to go a little bit here. So what we've kind of been, as a unfortunate consequence of the coronavirus, we actually get if you want to look at some positives, we get college football in the spring in the form of the FCS. They have their season going on right now, and next week. I think it's going to be next Friday. Next Sunday, something like that. I think it's next Sunday. It's going to be their national championship. So I guess it technically won't be done before you guys record again. But I'm still going with it anyway.
Yeah, I like it.
Todd A will have two that count, so he could potentially get back to 500 or over 500.
He could really double up on this one. See, he'll love those odds. He's a betting man. He'll take those odds. He'll love the opportunity to double up without being here. It's fine.
Yeah. So I'm going to go with Sam Houston over South Dakota State in the FCS championship game. That is going to be next Sunday. So, 2:00 championship game. You got a Sam Houston team that just today knocked off James Madison, who was actually my pick at the beginning of the season to go and win the FCS. South Dakota State's had a little bit of an easier path to that final game. So I think Sam Houston is going to have it in the bag. I'm going Sam Houston over South Dakota State in the FCS championship game.
Wow. Over the NFL talent powerhouse churning out South Dakota State, going with Sam Houston. I like it.
Yeah.
I like it.
The Alabama of the FCS.
There it is. Oh, I wish they would hang a banner. I wish they would, or make a shirt or something that says that. Would be amazing.
Well, what's funny is they couldn't even technically claim it, because I think that would more apply to North Dakota State than anyone else. But they've had an off year. Because I think
mixed that up.
Wouldn't North Dakota State have had Trey Lance if the season was in the fall?
I think so.
Yes.
Yeah. So that's kind of unfortunate for them that they're like, well, our NFL quarterback couldn't play because he was getting ready for the NFL.
Hey, just FYI, you know that guy that just went number 3? Yeah, he was supposed to be here.
Yeah.
He must not have got the memo.
North Dakota State should hang a banner, be like, our quarterback was drafted number 3 instead of playing your dumb spring FCS season.
Oh my God, that would be amazing.
Sorry, we couldn't play your season this year. We were too busy turning out NFL quarterbacks.
Turning out NFL talent. Sorry, we're not here for your meaningless exhibition games. We're out here on the grind to the NFL. We're on that yellow brick road of success.
Yeah. Also missing their starting left tackle too, and Dylan Radins, who went in the NFL as well. So I mean, they're like, sorry, you needed us to not have our starting quarterback or starting left tackle for you guys to actually win. Sorry, our bad.
I hope you enjoy your championship. That's tainted. Oh my God. I love it. Well, okay. The very, 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 very final note before we wrap this up. Since I'm wearing my The Show hat, I wanted to shout out San Diego Studios for creating a card in this Gears game that I know Craig and I have literally been clamoring for almost 3 years now. And that is our man, the captain himself, who needs a goddamn C on his chest. Get that face off my screen. Anthony Rizzo. Craig, San Diego Studios did it. They gave us an Anthony Rizzo relief pitcher card. I have my endgame closer already in the first week of May, and I am just so here for it. I can't believe it. And it's a perfect moments card of like, yeah, when it happened, we were literally clamoring and saying like, dude, just make a Tops Now card for when he struck Freddie Freeman out. And there it is. You don't even have to justify the like, his 0.0 ERA and all the fun stuff that we like to point out with his relief pitching appearances. Like, no, you can just do a Tops Now card, and they did it this week. So I just wanted to shout out San Diego Studios for putting it together. Again, a cherry on top of what has already been a fun game a month into release. So pretty awesome.
Shout out for hitting stats too.
Yeah. Anything else we want to do? I want to thank Craig for coming on this week, for stepping up at pretty much last minute notice for hopping on this week's edition of the MCT podcast. I really, really appreciate you coming on here. I'm glad we had a chance to bring you on here and join in. I know we've done this kind of vice versa where we've hopped on with you and B Scott, which is always a treat and entertainment in and of itself, but it was really fun to get you on here. So now next on the list, we got to find a way to get B Scott on one of our shows. We'll have our people talk to your people. We'll set it up. We'll get it. We'll get it working. Tade should be back next week. We won't sure. We'll see Michael next week. He may or may not be suspended. The league's got to take notice. They'll come down with their decision later on in the week. But he had fun today, so hopefully it was worth it. If a fine and suspension comes down for him, so
that's like something happening in like the commissioner being at your game. Be like, well, I was witness.
Yeah.
There's no.
Yeah. Like imagine. Yeah,
imagine if Amir Garrett yells at Javi Baez, but Manfred's in the stands like, okay, I saw you. You can't really appeal because I know what happened. I was there.
Imagine if all that happens and then like Amir Garrett goes and tries to like appeal it and lie and be like, dude, I didn't do anything. And Manfred just literally takes his phone and is like, you see this video that I recorded from the stands like while I was sitting there?
You didn't see what you saw.
Manfred's just coming down with a beer and a hot dog, and he's like, so
this is right happening in front of me.
This is what's happening now. We woke up and chose violence today, huh, folks? Okay, been fun. Oh
free
my
AG,
god,
though.
yeah, that's
free AG.
Oh my god, he'll be all right. He'll live. It'll be okay.
His ERA will still be 8. It's 7 games after today.
Yeah,
it's fine.
Hey, his ERA probably is going to go down during those 7 games he doesn't pitch. So, like, you're actually welcome for that suspension. So, all right, guys, that's going to do it for this very fun, very entertaining episode and edition of the MCT. Catch us next week on Saturday on YouTube, and catch Craig Crash Course over there on the Crash Course podcast every week with B Scott as well. They're live on Mondays and they release on Tuesdays of every week. They're better than us at staying on their schedule. We've delayed now twice, so it's a lot of fun. But you will find us, like I said, find us on Saturdays on YouTube. Same channel, 3C Media. You can come and find both the MCT podcast and the Crash Course podcast. We merged them together. We're one big happy family over here. So thanks again for Craig stepping in and stepping up to the plate. It was a lot of fun. I'm glad we got to talk some baseball with you. I know Michael and I were looking forward to it. And that's going to do it for this edition of the MCT podcast. Thanks for watching. Have a great night, guys.